අරවානිවන් අවපුර තොර අකුළු ළමින් සුරකින බැවින් සිරිදලඳා සමීදු පෙමින් පරසතු කුසුම් උඩුගුවනි විසුරුවමින් පෙරහැර පවත්වති දෙවියෝ ඔබේ නමින්.
ආයුබෝවන් කන්ද රටින් මුළු ලොවටම තිලින කරන අසිරිමත් පෙරහැර මංගල්‍යයේ සිව්වන කුඹල් පෙරහැර වේදි සරන්නට සියල්ල සූදානම්. 7:20ට යෙදෙන සුබ මුහුර්තයෙන් දකුණු දිශාභිමුඛව පෙරහැර ගමන් ආරම්භ කරන්නට යෙදුණා. අද දවසේ ඉන්දිරාජා හස්යා විසින් සදහතුක පෙරහැර කරඬුව වැඩවීමේ කටයුතු ඉටු කරනවා. නුවර වීදිවල සිට පෙරහැර නරඹනවා සේම නිවසේ සිට ලොව කොතැනක සිට වුවත් මේ පෙරහැරේ රූපකාව්‍ය ඔබට තිලින කරන්නට අප මෙතෙන් පටන් සූදානම්. අපි ආරාධනා කරනවා මෙතෙන් පටන් මේ පෙරහැරේ රෝසිරි විදින්නට ඔබට අවස්ථාලාභය ලැබී තිබෙනවා. ආරාධනාව සියලු දෙනාට රැඳෙන්න අප සමගින් මේ පෙරහැරේ අසිරියේ නරඹන්න. மிதன்
நன்றி ஜெயநாத். மஞ்சள் நிற ஒளியில் மங்களம் பேசிக் கொண்டிருக்கின்ற கண்டி எசல பிரகராவின் 4ஆம் நாள் கும்பல் பிரகரா என்று பன்னிதூவும் மேகங்களுடன் சேர்ந்து உங்களை வருக வருகவென வரவேற்றுக் கொண்டு இக்காட்சியினை நேரடியாக காண இயலாதவர்கள் டயலாக் தொலைக்காட்சி 48, டியோ டிவி 20310, ஃப்ரீசெட் 2 மற்றும் தலதா மாளிகையினுடைய ஃபேஸ்புக் மற்றும் யூடியூப் தளங்களினூடாகவும் பார்வையிடலாம். இது கண்டி எசல பிரகரா 2024. அனைவரும் வருக, இன்னருள் பெருக. ரவிஹார்.
Thank you, Midan. Today we bring the live broadcasting of 4th Kumbal Procession of Kandy Esala Perahera Festival, a dazzling display of heritage and culture. So we, the Media Bureau of Sri Dalada Maligawa, is ready to convey the real-time iconic footages, collaborated with POTV channel number 2310, Dialogue TV channel number 48 and FreeSat channel number 2. Stay tuned with us.
Samidu Pihitai. We are delighted to welcome you to the special live broadcast of the 4th Kumbal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2024, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Kandy. You are now seeing the Perahera officials obtaining permission and blessings of the Naiyandi Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing their street perambulations.
Now, the Naiyandi Nilame will be making his way from the upper level Ihalamalaya to the lower level of the chamber known as the Pathamalaya of the Vada Sitina Maligawa, and he is seen ceremoniously and reverentially carrying the Perahera casket under much veneration.
We are seeing the Perahera casket being reverentially carried under the protection of the custodian venerating prelate of the Askiriya Mahaviharaya, Venerable Urulavatte Sri Dhammarakkhita Theru, towards the ceremonial Tusker under much veneration, in the middle of offering of light, sounds, scents and flowers, all the way to the upper chamber till it is placed on the awaiting Tusker.
We are now seeing the Perahera casket, which contains 32 relics of Lord Buddha, being placed within the Ranhili gate that is mounted on the lavishly costumed Tusker, who will uplift the majesty of this great procession.
This is the devout moment when the royal Tusker shall step majestically down from the Mahavahalkada, the main entrance, onto the Sandagala. And this evening, the royal Tusker will be Indiraja, the leader of the Sri Dalada Maligawa stables. And on this year, we are witnessing the grace of the 1714th Perahera that had begun during the reign of King Kirti Sri Meghavarna, who pledged that the relics must be carried around the city once a year, and this tradition still continues, followed by the succession of many ruling kings, prime ministers and presidents of the country.
Walking up front with the sound of thundering, whips piercing through the skies, are the whip crackers announcing that the procession has commenced. And these whip masters are tasked with clearing the way for the sacred relic casket and the king.
When looking back at history in the ancient times, it was the ruling king who would parade the streets in the Perahera. But now it is the Devadra Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, who will resemble the king in the modern day Perahera.
The Perahera is believed to be held in prayer for timely rainfall, and the elements of the Perahera is structured in a symbolical way that it paints the imagery of rainfall. Rain would never be showered without the striking sound of thunder, and these whip wielders are the symbolic imagery to depict the sound of lightning and the thunder, to pay homage to the rain gods, requesting to bless our crops and cultivations with rain.
And this evening, the troupe of whip wielders are being represented by Mr. Upali Jayaratna. An ancient poem translated from the book Sangarajavata recites the story of the Kandy Esala Perahera as follows. The kingdom of Senkadagala, the procession of the month of Esala, held from times ago in favor of the gods above, led by the grace of the Buddha, followed by the deities, the Perahera shall perambulate, just as the kings did commemorate.
Nilesh, if you look closely, we can see these whip masters are untying the knots that are formed with the whipping, and that is a symbolic to the various problems that we face in our life of journey. Were we to spend a careful expense of mind in untying our problems down our own walk down the journey of life?
Tonight, the Perahera commenced at the auspicious hour of 7:20 p.m., heading the auspicious direction of south, and shall parade down the Dalada Vidya, the Kotogodella Vidya, and conclude ascending the Rajavidya.
Rain does not come with thunder alone. Just as lightning flashes across the skies, the procession too has its flashes of light. Dancing across the faces of the people lining the streets to watch, these are the fire dancers who are offering fire, inviting the rain gods to water our land with rain.
Even though it seems very paradox to learn that we offer fire to seek for water, this phenomenon of nature is magnificently depicted by this group of fireball dancers who perform this thrilling stunt of acrobatics while illustrating how lightning comes with the rain.
The turning of fireballs is called Pandam Palya, which paints the night with varied patterns of light, using both hands and feet, along with the thrilling episode of fire stunts.
The dancers are seen creating their paintings of fire across the night sky as they move in the procession. For the children, it is fire play, but for the experienced elders, it is a devout and committed fire offering. And we are bringing to you the live broadcast of the 4th Kumbal Perahera by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
The fireball dance is performed in 3 levels that are known as the Bin Thalaya, low level, Mada Thalaya, the mid level, and the Ahas Thalaya, the sky level.
These fireball dancers are trained by Mr. E.D. Tilakaratna of the Ragama Walpola Aesthetic Academy, who have been performing in the Kandy Esala Perahera for many years. And on this occasion itself, we are seeing not just one, but several generations of artists representing the team of fireball dancers. Next in line of the procession are the Buddhist flag bearers, who are clad in white national costumes, carrying the most respected flag of Buddhism, while being preceded by the national flag of Sri Lanka. The sight of these Buddhist flags create a sense of tranquility among the spectators, reminding us the fact that this procession is in celebration, devotion, and an offering to the great Lord Buddha.
The Buddhist flag is a symbol of faith and peace. The 6 colors of the flag represent the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha. The horizontal stripes represent the races of the world living in harmony, while the vertical stripes represent eternal world peace.
The flag bearers we see here are the inmates of the Pallekele open prison camp who have been starring in this segment in the Perahera for many years. They too are humans just like us who were once diverted in life in lieu of a wrongdoing that could have been a mistake of theirs or of their society. But this participation is a part of the ordeal in releasing them back to society as corrected humans, and therefore they are here today to pay homage to the sacred tooth relic in hope for the change they pray for in their lives.
Walking in great discipline in their calm and disciplined nature are the army of sword bearers who provide protection to the Perahera casket.
Clad in white sarong and a white headdress, this army is seen carrying the race swords, not in warfare, but in a disciplined walk of calm serenity. The symbolic idea of these sword bearers is the historic protection that is provided with utmost might to the sacred tooth relic. For those who know about the history of the sacred tooth relic would be patriotically proud of our history and the heroic personalities who always protected the sacred tooth relic with highest levels of bravery. And this evening, the sword bearers are being represented by the Angampura team of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
Since the ancient times, the sacred tooth relic has played an important role in local politics, since it was believed that whoever holds the sacred tooth relic shall hold the governance of the country.
An inquisitive historian would certainly be aware of the life-dedicated service rendered by the Mahasangha, the Buddhist clergy, and right now we are seeing the most magnificent sight of the Perahera, which is the arrival of the very first elephant who will be carrying the Peramunerala. And this evening the Peramunerala is on the mount of the Tusker Vasana belonging to the Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devala. Vasana is a 50-year-old Tusker who is among the 4 Tuskers who are privileged to carry the sacred relic casket in the Kandy Esala Perahera, and we see him walking with great majesty, leading the Perahera in this 4th Kumbal Perahera.
This is the arrival of the first Hewisi troupe that represent the official musical ensemble who permanently seconded to service the Sri Dalada Maligawa. They perform in dignified presence in front of the procession as a tradition which they practice with majestic skills. In fact, no Panchaturiya Vadana or traditional orchestra in Sinhalese music that provides sound using either drums or other musical instrument is permitted before the Hewisi.
Sri Lanka is rich with its own genres of traditional music, and Hewisi, which is dignified as the authentic sound of Sri Lanka. The history of Hewisi takes us back to the time when the sapling of the Jayashri Maha Bodhi tree was brought down to Sri Lanka by Sangamitha Therini, and this evidence marked the fact that Hewisi is the oldest traditional orchestra and Buddhist sound offering in the Sri Lankan heritage.
Hewisi as the most prominent orchestra of the five-fold musical instruments too has its own variants that are authentic to various parts of the country, known as the Upcountry, Low Country and Sabaragamu. The speciality of the Kandy Esala Perahera is the pure domination of upcountry traditional musical arts. Therefore, this particular Hewisi instrumental performance belongs to the upcountry tradition of Hewisi, which is known as Udarata Hewisi in Sinhalese.
The five-fold musical instruments, as recognized by Sri Lankan music culture as Panchaturyanada, is noted as Athatha, which are the instruments played using hands, Vitatha, instruments played using sticks, Vitathathatha, instruments played using hands and the stick, Gana, the instruments that are dashed with each other, and Susira, which are the instruments that are blown. This arrangement of the upcountry ensemble of Hewisi consists of 4 out of the 5 mentioned tunes, except for the Gatabere that represents the Athatha tune. If we would identify the other instruments that are played here, we see the Horanava or the traditional windpipe that represents the tune of Susira, the Thammatama or the kettle drum that represents the tune of Vitatha, the Daula that represents the tune of Vitathathatha, and the Talampata or the little hand cymbals that represent the tune of Gana. The beauty of the Hewisi evolves when all of these instruments are played together to make a symphonic sound, and it must be noted that these instruments are played only according to the traditional rule. Riding on the second elephant with dignified majesty is the Gajanayake Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, who is the official in charge of the king's troop of elephants. And with the Gajanayake Nilame, we see the Tusker Sindhu belonging to the most venerable Mahanayakathero of the Malwatha monastic order, Venerable Thibbatuave Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thero. Born in the year 2006, he was gifted to the Sri Malwatha Vihara in the year 2009. And following the Tusker Sindhu, we are seeing the first dance performance, which is the Kothala Padaya, recognized as one of the most gentle dance performances of the upcountry tradition of dance, which is traditionally a dance of purity. And this evening, the Kothala Padaya dance act is represented by Mr. Nalin Jayasekara of the Sri Dalada Maligawa troupe of dance.
The Kothala Padaya is in fact a ritualistic dance that is performed in healing rituals or Shanti Karma across upcountry, low country and Samaragama traditions. And here we are seeing the upcountry version of the Kothala Padaya, which originates from the Kumbal Perahera healing ritual. As one of the 4 Hat Padaya or 7 dance episodes that comprise of Bulat Padaya, Kothala Padaya, Mal Padaya, Salu Padaya, Pol Padaya, Yahan Mutti Padaya and Anguru Dummala Padaya.
The first dance item of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Perahera throughout the 11 days of parading shall be a representation from the Udarata Hakpade as mentioned by Kanishka, focused on either the Bulat Pade dance or the Kotala Pade dance. And interestingly, the Kotala Pade dance has been included in the Esala Perahera in the means of a performance-based dance only from very recent history since the year 2010. And following the Kotalpade dance act, we are seeing the third elephant who shall parade the streets in the fourth Kumbal Perahera, carrying a Buddhist flag symbolizing the Buddhist orientation of the Perahera. Here we see the most majestic elephant Ratna belonging to Venerable Bengamue Dhammadinna Thero, the chief incumbent of the Palmadulla Rajamaha Viharaya. In fact, Kanishka, this is after 10 years that we are seeing Ratna in the procession of the Sri Dalada Maligawa. And following Ratna, we are seeing a Sawaran dance performance that is represented this evening by the Nalanda Buddhist College.
Dance items which involve these tassels are used quite often in Perahera. But this is not the usual Chamara dance we witnessed previously. This dance, which is recognized as Savarang dance, is similar to Chamara dance, but with a difference in the prop that is used.
The Savarama, which is the main tool used by these dancers, consists of not one but two tassels attached on both its ends, which makes it a longer version of the Chamara instrument. However, the Savarama tool is meant to serve the same purpose as the Chamara, which is to fan and cool the impending icon of worship, which was traditionally the king, and today the relic casket or the requilities of God. The choreography of this folk dance is styled on the upcountry tradition, and here we see another representation of the troop of elephants who shall take the streets of Kandy this evening, and this is the majestic elephant Banda belonging to the Honorable Diyavadana Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, Honorable Pradeep Nilangadala. And it's interesting to see how Banda will walk with the traditional upcountry style by bending his trunk in his mouth, which proves how trained and disciplined that elephants are. Following the elephant banda, we are now seeing a Naiyandi dance troupe that is trained by Mr. Saman Nilvitha.
The Naiyandi dance is one of the most significant dance performances of the upcountry tradition that holds a very prominent position in the Kandy Esala Perahera, especially during the Kumbal Perahera festivities. The word Naiyandi is in fact the name of the costume that is worn by the Naiyandi dancers, which is the same costume that is worn by the Kandian West dancers with the exclusion of the devoted headdress that is replaced with a cloth turban with a knot on the head center that is taking the shape of a cobra.
The most revealing narration of the Esala Perahera is found in the book written by the Chinese pilgrim Fahian in the 5th century. The sporadic invasions by the Dravidians resulted in the shift of the kingdom from Anuradhapura to several destinations: Polonnaruwa, Dabadeniya, Yapanuwa, Kurunagala, Kotte and Gampana. And with the final shift of the kingdom to this great city of Kandy, the relics have remained undisturbed, and thereby the Kandy Esala Perahera has been held annually to rejoice and honor the sacred tooth relic. We are now seeing the most majestic elephant who shall walk in the Dalada Perahera this evening, who is Gajaba, belonging to Mr. Ranjit Vijay Singha of the Yakkala Muranvatha Devalaya. In fact, as I mentioned, Gajaba is the tallest elephant who shall walk in the Perahera this evening, who stands majestic, equal to a Tusker, even though he is just an elephant. And following Gajaba, we are seeing a Talam dance troupe that is trained by Mr. Nimesh Sumanaratna of the Chandananda Buddhist College.
The Talampata, or the small set of cymbals, are a vital instrument used in all forms of traditional dancing in Sri Lanka, and also in India to maintain the space and rhythm of the dance that is technically mentioned as the Mitmatre. But here, the Talam dance considers these little cymbals as the main prop itself, where the dancers play the cymbals in a denoted rhythm which aligns the footwork and the hand movements accordingly.
The young performers dash these cymbals in the choreographed rhythm and perform a dance that creates both horizontal and vertical line movements in this space, using the right moves that are designed in maintaining the cultural element of this act.
The Talam is an instrument that is made of metal that is traditionally a mix of brass and bronze, which were once again reminds us of the performing arts are not just the participants' talent of the Perahera, but even the talented brass myths of Sri Lanka are celebrated in this great pageant. Nilesh, would you like to talk us about the leadership in this dance performance?
Indeed, it is evident that this dance we see here is not just an individual representation, but of a group. The interesting feature regarding the teamwork behind this dance is the presence of a leader, who we see as the audience are not bright enough to identify, but in reality, the publicly unidentified yet present leader is the one who directs the entire team in their own ways of communication throughout this Perahera state. It is an interesting fact from history that in the ancient times, the sacred tooth relic has been considered as a private property of the king, and the public had never been permitted in having a chance of worshipping it. It was indeed the thankful move by King Kirtishri Rajasingha who declared that the relics need to be taken in the procession for the public to witness and venerate and seek for blessings. Next up, we are seeing the youngest Tusker who shall walk in the Perahera. This is the Tusker Raju, belonging to the most venerable Mahanayaka Thero of the Shyamopali Mahanikaya's Asgiriya monastic order, belonging to Venerable Varakagoda Sri Gnanaratana Thero. In fact, Kanishka, did you know that the elephant and the tusker are two separate animals, where the tusker is identified as an elephant with its incisor teeth growing beyond its limits, and it's only just 3% of the Sri Lankan elephant population who are fortunate enough to be tuskers, wherefore it is such luck to be born as a tusker, isn't it?
Of course, Nilesh.
Because of that, the tusker is the only animal, unlike the elephant, who is given the chance to carry the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha. And after speaking about that fact, let us see the Pantheru dance act which we are seeing, that is trained by Mr. Sarath Vijayasiri.
The Pantheru is a musical instrument that is used as a rhythm tool across all three traditions of the upcountry, low country and Sabaragama. But the Pantheru dance is an exclusively belonging to the Udarata or the upcountry tradition of dance.
Since the 18th century, the instrument was used for the development of semi-classical dance form, which is an art that was passed down from generation to generation. The dance identified as a Gananatuma as per the theory of the Panchathura, since the Pantheru is an instrument belonging to the Gana classification, as it needs to be dashed in order to be instrumental. In the recent 3 days of the Perahera, Kanishka, we noticed that 2 friends had missed the chance of walking next to each other. And it's so fortunate to see them back together in this 4th Kumbal Perahera. Let me introduce these 2 friends to you. On one side, we have the elephant Raja belonging to Mrs. Sita Senanayaka Mallava of Hettimulla and the elephant Punchibanda belonging to Mrs. Anusha Vijayanthi of Horana. The Kandy Esala Perahera is an annual festival which not just commemorates the cultural festivities of Sri Lanka, but it's also a time when friendships are rearranged. And these 2 elephants who have been knowing each other for a long time get to meet each other annually in this Kandy Esala Perahera. And it is the practice since the year 2017 that both Raja and Punchibanda will walk next to each other in the Kandy Perahera, which we'll of course see for the next couple of days as well.
Of course, Nilesh, as you talked about these 2 elephants, we know elephants who are taking part in the Perahera is being a prudent in 3 various qualities: being faithful to the task, being disciplined in what they do, and of course, being skilled in practice of what they do as well. Such virtues accumulate to ignite the devotion bestowed upon the Perahera.
And now we see the mixed folk dance that is trained by Mr. P.C.B. Vijay Surya.
Traditional dancing in Sri Lanka is segregated into 2 main types, which are Sastriyanatu or dance performances that are based on healing rituals, and the other being Gaminatu or folk dance performers that the dance we see now is a remarkable fusion of not just one, but 4 different folk dance performances being done simultaneously in the same spotlight.
Here in this dance, we see the dance artists representing 4 different folk dances, which are the Talam, the Likeni, Rabang and the Sawaran, which we would see being performed as individual dance items across all 5 segments of this majestic Perahera. And this dance act is certainly a snapshot of the beauty of the Sri Lankan folk culture.
Dance is represented as one team, but we could carefully observe how they break themselves into sub-teams among themselves based on the designated dance. It is true that it is in the same music that is being played for the whole group, but this music plays the tune for 4 different dance acts that involve 4 different props and 4 different steps of dance, which are being carefully presented to maintain their cultural identity.
This procession is a true reflection of Buddhist worship, while it also represents a frozen image of the ancient service known as Rajakarya, where people of different occupational castes perform duties to the king in return for enjoying the utility of royal land and grants. And here we see such a majestic sight. The second generation of Tuskers of the Sri Dalada Maligawa itself, the Tuskers Pulathisi Raja, Singharaja and Burumaraja, all representing the Sri Dalada Maligawa stables, walking in such great pride ahead of the Perahera Relic casket. And in fact, Kanishka, this is the future of the Kandy Esala Perahera. Amidst the senior Tuskers we have, it is these 3 Tuskers who will be seen representing the grand duty in the near future.
Indeed, Nilesh.
And another interesting fact over here is that Singharaja, who is a Sri Lankan Tusker, is being accompanied by 2 of his Burmese colleagues, where Burumaraja and Pulathisi Raja are Tuskers who are of Burmese origin and who represent a different subspecies of elephants, in fact, where both these Burmese Tuskers are of the subspecies Elephas maximus indicus. And here we come to the most awaited moment in the 4th Kumbal Perahera, the arrival of the Perahera Relic casket, the trio of Tuskers being accompanied or being escorted by the West dancers, represented by Mr. Ishanta Ihalavela and Mr. Lasantha Mansekara.
The most unique and most recognized presentation of the Kandian dance heritage is the mostly fully adorned West Natua or the West dancer. The Kandian dancer's skill and dance form have been considered as an authentic expression of Sri Lankan culture.
In fact, this is the icon of the West dancer, who is the branding identity of traditional Sri Lankan dancing across the seven seas, despite the presence of many artistic dance performances that are authentic to traditional Sri Lankan dance. It is amusing to hear that this is the same picture that is illustrated on anyone's mind when they hear the phrase Sri Lankan dance, which we could be certainly proud of as Kandians, isn't it?
Indeed, Nilesh, indeed. The West dance is just more than a ritual. It is a sacred recitation for the protection against misfortune. Therefore, the costume of these dancers are also considered sacred. This most glamorous costume symbolically represents the regalia of the King Malaya, the royalty who performed the ancient ritual of Hatapas Mangale, which is a healing ceremony that was held 2500 years ago. To notice, it was in the 4th century BC when the first ever Hatapas Mangala was performed in Sri Lanka by the Malaya king to cure a devidos or a godly curse that had been bestowed upon King Panduvasdeva, who is in fact a descendant of King Vijaya, the Indian prince who discovered the land of Sri Lanka as Tambapanni. The story of King Vijaya and his tribal wife Kueni is in fact the birth story of the royal tradition of Kandian dancing, which is quite interesting to learn.
West dancing was considered as a part of royalty itself, where it was formally associated with the kings since ancient times. When going down history, the West dance was performed in the time of the Anuradhapura kingdom, and this had been rebranded as a Kandian dance only after the royalty had shifted to the kingdom of Kandy. Dressed in the white Pottiya costume, we see the Karya Karavana Korala, who is the royal official that holds responsibility for all engagements in regard to the offerings, the Perahera and the Relic casket, who is only seconded to the Devada Nilame and is the only person in the Perahera who has the permission to walk forwards and backwards during the Perahera. The very special orchestra that leads the Relic casket are the Nagasingam instrumentalists, which is an Indian-influenced ensemble of music that plays its authentic music to escort the Relic casket
as a part of the traditions that were conducted by Lord Buddha's origin country, India too, and was added to the Perahera from the first time of King Veera Parakrama Narendra Singha.
And here we see the most respectful sight of the fourth Kumbal Perahera, the arrival of the Perahera relic casket that is carried by the lead Tusker of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, who is Indiraja, being accompanied by the Tusker Miyan Raja of the Sri Dalada Maligawa and the Tusker Kotte Raja of the Kotte Raja Mahavihara. And let us take this moment to feel the devotion and express our worship towards Lord Buddha.
This is the chamber of Versifiers, or the Kavikara Madhura, the group of poets who walk behind the relic casket while singing the virtues of Lord Buddha. These Versifiers are holding several instruments, including the Pantheru and the Udakya. And the speciality of the Kavikara Madhura is these Versifiers shall only perform when the relic casket is taken out of the relic chamber.
And now we see the second troupe of West dancers in this evening's Perahera, who are tasked with escorting the way for the Honorable Devadana Nilame. And this troupe is represented by Mr. Sanjeeva Verapitiya and Mr. Peter Surasena. Dancers who perform in this part of the Perahera are not just random participants, Kanishka. In fact, they have been performing in the Kandy Perahera as lineages since the time of their ancestors. We see the ancestral lineages of Thalgahagoda, Verapitiya, Surasena, Bandara and Ihalavela, to name a few. The dancers who stand in the first line right in front of the icon of respect is the current heir of this particular lineage, who shall be leading the dance troupe, where in this case it would be Sanjeeva Verapitiya and Peter Surasena themselves.
Nilesh, being a West dancer is no easy deed. Any primitive dancer needs years and years of practice and skill in order to be crowned as a West dancer, and they are only permitted to wear the West tattoo or the much respected headdress, which is only after they are religiously coronated as a West dancer. which is a highly respected tradition that is even practiced in the modern times.
Indeed, in fact, the steps of this particular West dance are highly masculine, which is known as Tandava in technical dance language. The dance is choreographed in very heavy steps that could be performed only by the strongest of men, and is undoubtedly a dance performance that requires a lot of energy to perform. The audience can not just experience the energy of the West dance, but this is also an opportunity to learn about the highly energetic Sri Lankan men who had evolved since our history in this country with so much man-made developments. West dancers are traditionally honored by the king since ancient times due to their role in dispelling unseen inimical forces. Even though the West dance is much popular in today's context as a performing art more than a ritual, the practice of gifting royal honors still takes place. This evening, we will not be seeing the Devadra Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, as according to the custom of the 4th Kumbal Perahera, he will be represented by the Basnayake Nilame of the Sri Kataragama Devala in Kandy, who is the Basnayake Nilame Honorable Daminda Bandara Uduravana, who shall walk with majestic strides in the 4th Kumbal Perahera, walking under the pearl umbrella known as the Mutukudaya, surrounded by his army of guards and followed by the Vidanes of the 10 villages associated to the Sri Dalada Maligawa. And this brings us to the end of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Perahera. Just as we witness the majesty of the Basnayake Nilame of the Sri Kataragama Devala in Kandy, who shall represent the Honorable Devadra Nilame this evening. And that brings us to the commencement of the Sri Natha Devala Perahera. Leading the way in the procession of the Sri Natha Devala are the flag bearers representing the Civil Defence Authority of Pallekele.
Nilesh, it is really interesting to know the location of the Sri Natha Devala in Kandy. Would you like to elaborate us through that how it has been considered as the main shrine and where it is located near the Sri Dalada Maligawa?
Definitely, the Sri Natha Devala in Kandy is located right in front of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, where it is considered as the main shrine that is dedicated towards Lord Natha and one of the oldest buildings in Kandy that was built even before the Sri Dalada Maligawa. The procession of the Natha Devala is the first to follow the Dalada Perahera due to the belief that God Natha is next in line to attain Buddhahood. The well-known fact behind God Natha is the belief that he is the next in line to attain Buddhahood as Maitri Bodhisattva, where he is also identified as Avalokiteshvara in Indian cults. The iconography of God Natha is shown as a gentle young man of fair complexion who holds a lotus flower on his left hand. He is in fact famed as one of the most dominant gods associated in the hill country. And now we see the leading elephant in this evening's Perahera, who is Rohana, belonging to Mr. Varuna Kannangara of Horana. In fact, Kanishka, did you know that elephants of the Kannangara family has been playing a vital role in the procession of Lord Natha for many years in the Kandy Esala Perahera? And even now this particular elephant Rohana is currently the main elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Devala, who shall carry the requilities in the final Randoli Perahera.
Nilesh, when talking about elephants in Perahera, not only in Perahera but elephants are everywhere in Sri Lankan culture. From grand festivities to ancient rituals, they are a massive part of this island story. These amazing animals have been treated like royalty for centuries. Kings had their own special elephants, like King Ravana's elephant and Kadol for King Dutugamunu as well.
Indeed, and following that interesting story, we are seeing the official Hewisi troupe of the Sri Mahanatha Devala, who are being trained by Mr. S.Y.G. Vijayasena. Prominent drums used in Hewisi have its own distinct characteristics. The Daula, which belongs to the classification of Vitatatata among the Panchaturyanada, is played using both bare hand and the stick, which is known as the Kadippa. It is in fact 15 inches long in length with a circumference of 45 inches and is in fact the main drum that is used for dance and traditional rituals of the Sabaragamuwa culture in Sri Lanka, which is authentic to the cities of Ratnapura, Kuruvita and Balangoda, even though it resembles a prominent place in upcountry Hewisi as well.
Times before the Dalada Perahera commenced 1714 years ago, it was just the Satara Devala Perahera that comprised of God Natha, Vishnu, Kataragama and Pattini, which still follows the Dalada Perahera as a part of the old tradition. The order of these Devalayas are in fact lined up in order in which this god shall be attaining Buddhahood as per its belief.
The legend of God Natha takes us down through many cults in Buddhism, including the Mahayana and Theravada traditions, where he is predominantly associated as the future Buddha. In Sri Lankan history, there are recorded evidence and mentions of God Natha in the Sandesha of Tisara, Gira and Ko, where God Natha was one of the prime deities who was seeked by the ancient kings of Sri Lanka. Following the Hewisi troupe, we are seeing the second elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Devala in Kandy, and this elephant is Kandula, belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakudi of Maharagama. Following Kandula, we are seeing a Sawaran dance troupe that is represented by Mr. Dilshan Sharika.
The premises of Sri Natha Devala in Kandy is recognized since as the Jaya Bhumi or the land with luck since the time of our ancestors, based on the indication by an ancient Brahmin named Senkada. According to the legend, this sage Senkada had once visited this land and had witnessed a hare being chased by a pack of wolves. And with a flick of a moment, the hare had managed to chase the entire pack of wolves by itself just as it entered this land. Interesting, Nilesh, it was of this same Brahmin that evolved the name of Senkadagala to the city of Kandy.
The sweet tune that is blown using the flute is very mesmerizing to the ear, and the tunes we hear from these flutes are in fact specific poems that are exclusively written for the Sawaran dance that are known as Sawaran Kavi.
Nilesh, would you like us to take us through how these tassels are made and from what they have been made from?
Of course, these tassels are not really artificial crafts, where this is in fact known to be hail tear of a particular deer, which we can speak for in the next Perahera when we see a Sawaran dance. And that elephant which we noticed is Sumana, belonging to Venerable Borolande Vajranyana, the chief incumbent of the Sambodhi Vihara in Colombo. And following Sumana, we are seeing a Likeli dance troupe that is trained by Mr. Upali Dharmaratna.
Likeli is also another interesting folk dance of the upcountry tradition that consists of performances having two wooden sticks on their hands, who shall dash them together in a rhythm, individually and even among pairs at times of groups. Being a folk dance itself, this dance too sets a village picture for audience, but the origin of the exact moments performed are guessed by ancient practices of war battles. Nilesh, would you like to comment on the next elephant that is coming on this great procession?
Definitely, this particular elephant who we see now is Sudu Mahatya, belonging to the 4th Magistrate, Mr. Tilina Sulochana Gamage. Following Sudu Mahatya, we are seeing a Pantheru dance troupe that is being represented by Mr. Chanaka Modula. Pantheru is in fact an original Kandian dance form that can be authentically witnessed only in the Kandy Esala Perahera, because it is the Kandy Esala Perahera which will be exhibiting the Pantheru in its most original form, including its moves, its beats, and also the costume. Following the Pantheru dance act, we are seeing a couple of elephants actually. A girl and a boy who is from the same city far away from Kandy. They are here actually from the city of Mathura, and it's so interesting to see how both of these elephants are romancing through their time at the Sri Natha Devala premises if you can visit in the morning hours. And here we see the two elephants, Arjuna belonging to Venerable Karatota Panyasiha Thero, the chief incumbent of the Vaurukannala Buduraja Mahavihare in the Kwella, alongside with the elephant Lasanda belonging to the Devinuwara Upulwan Vishnu Devala. It's interesting to notice how both Lasanda and Arjuna are walking next to each other, sharing their confidence with each other, because Lasanda is actually here in Kandy after 4 years, but Arjuna is quite an occasional participant in the Kandy Esala Perahera, where we saw him carrying the relics of the Sri Natha Devala over the past few days of the Kumbal Perahera, and this evening he has been released from his usual duty to take care of his dear friend Lasanda. Both Lasanda and Arjuna are elephants who are gifted in the same year from the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage by the former president, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksha, in the year 2011. And now we come to the pinnacle moment of the Sri Natha Devala Perahera, where we see the arrival of the ceremonial elephants carrying the godly ornaments of Lord Natha, who have been escorted by the Naiyandi dance troupe represented by Mr. Asanka Karunaratne.
An important factor to note from Naiyandi dance is that it is belonging to the classification of Rupanatu due to the visual richness in attraction, and this dance is also known as Adavis, meaning half of the West costume, and at times even known as Tanikachu, that relates to the special head turban that is worn by the Naiyandi dancers. It is a fascinating point that these Naiyandi dancers will be replaced by West Dance troupe on the upcoming Randoli Perahera, isn't it?
Definitely, where we would be seeing mostly Naiyandi dance performances in the Kumbal Perahera segment. And this particular instance will be replaced by the West dancing in the Randoli Perahera, which we'll be noticing in another 2 more days to come. And this evening, it's quite special for the Sri Natha Devala Perahera for one particular elephant, who is the little elephant Sadhu Raja, who will be carrying the requilleries of Lord Natha and being a ceremonial elephant for the very first time in his life in the Kandy Esala Perahera. As we congratulate Sadhu Raja, who belongs to Mr. Pradeep Miyanapalada, a native physician, and also the gentleman in charge of the elephant troupe of the Sri Dalada Maligawa. Sadhu Raja, who was formerly known as Vastu, is still a 16-year-old elephant who we saw parading and leading the way in the Sri Natha Devala Perahera. And if you would remember, I commented on the first Kumbal Perahera that this year is going to be quite special for Sadhu Raja, because in the beginning of the year himself, Sadhu Raja starred as the elephant who brought in the new harvest to the Sri Natha Devala Perahera, which left us with a small hint that this year could be quite special for Sadhu Raja in the Kandy Esala Perahera. And here we see this much awaited moment where Sadhu Raja is now officially a ceremonial elephant of the Kandy Esala Perahera. And this evening Sadhu Raja is not alone, as he is represented by the elephant Kueni, belonging to Mr. Mahinda Millangoda of Kegol, and the elephant Bandara, belonging to Mr. Amal Tilakaratna of Kegol. Let us take this moment to feel and respect the virtues of Lord Natha. While that marks the end of the Sri Natha Devala Perahera, let us welcome the procession of the Sri Vishnu Devala. Leading the way of the Sri Vishnu Devala Perahera are the state flag bearers. And there's a particular reason why we see state flags in this particular segment, because it is to symbolize the fact that Lord Vishnu is overlooking all of these states represented by these flags as the guardian deity of Sri Lanka. And now we see the first elephant of the Sri Vishnu Devala with an official who shall be carrying the sun and moon flag of the Sri Vishnu Devala. And this particular flag is being carried on the mount of the elephant Haritha, belonging to Mr. Tusita Ranavaka of Deniyaya.
The Sri Vishnu Devala in Kandy, that is also prominently identified as the Devala or the Great Shrine, is the main shrine in the hill capital that is dedicated to Lord Vishnu, among the Satara Devalayas in Kandy.
The Hewisi troupe of the Sri Vishnu Devala in Kandy is quite special for several reasons. And one of those reasons is that this particular Hewisi troupe is of the Alutnuara Hewisi variant. And interestingly, Alutnuara is of the Sabaragama province in Sri Lanka, wherefore this could be probably the only the performance of the Kandy Esala Perahera that is representing the style of Sabaragama in the Kandy Esala Perahera. And this troupe of Hewisi is been represented by Mr. Saman Arambegedara, who is the official Hewisi troupe leader of the Sri Vishnu Devala in Kandy and the Alutnuara Devala and Alutnuara Sri Dadimunda Devala in Mavanella.
Indeed, Nilesh. And when talking about the location where the Devala is situated in Kandy, it is on the northeast to the Sri Dalada Maligawa, which is accessed easily via the Rajavidya and is considered as the most prominent religious site in the Kandy city, that is only seconded to Sri Dalada Maligawa. Nilesh, would you like to take us through about the Sri Vishnu Devala and who built and when it was built?
Indeed, it is believed that it was built by King Senarath between the years 1604 to 1635, during the time in which the Upulwan Devala in Alutnuara was destroyed by the Portuguese. And today we see two more elephants. The elephant Muthu, belonging to Venerable Warakagoda Sri Jnanaratana Thero, the most venerable Mahanayaka Thero of the Askiriya monastic order, walking alongside with the elephant Rani, belonging to Mr. Deepthi Kumara in Biyagama. Following Rani and Muthu, we are seeing a Sawaran dance troupe that has been playing in this particular segment of the Perahera for many years. And this troupe of Sawaran dancers are being represented by the Nityatal dance troupe, led by Mr. Ruwan Thalgahagoda, who in fact represents the Thalgahagoda lineage of Kandian dancers.
Among the diverse religion beliefs that are observed in this island nation of Sri Lanka, Lord Vishnu is a virtuous god who is popularly being worshipped by both Sri Lankan Hindu and Buddhist devotees. He is also known by 108 other names as Hari, Madhava, Venkateshwara and Narayana, apart from the Sri Lankan recognition as Upulwan.
it's interesting to see three elephants walking next to each other. In fact, a lady who is protected by two men. In the middle, we see the elephant Muthu belonging to Mr. Indika Mudunkot of Manikkinna, who is accompanied by the elephant Sanju belonging to Mr. Jagat Vitan of Matugama, and the elephant Banda belonging to Mr. Sisira Samarakon of Narammala. And here we come to the pinnacle moment of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala procession this evening, as we see the approach of the ceremonial Tusker carrying the godly ornaments of Lord Vishnu, who is escorted by this troupe of Naiyandi dancers, represented yet by another prominent lineage of Kandian dancers, who is Mr. Kondadeniya Samansiri, representing the Kondadeniya lineage of Kandian dancers.
Nilesh, if you notice carefully, we can see the dominance of the color blue throughout the Mahavishnu Devalaya procession. Would you like to talk us about that too?
Indeed, Lord Vishnu is in fact believed to be dark in skin tone, which is the reason why his illustration is shown in the color of blue. His appearance illustrates Lord Vishnu sitting on the mythical bird Garuda, also known as Gurula in Sri Lankan context, holding a lotus flower, mace, conch shell and a Sudarshana Chakra in his four hands. And he is being seen ahead of the great five-headed cobra named Shesha. And these elements have now become the unique features of this Perahera segment itself, where we see the dominance of the color blue as you mentioned. And here we see the chief trustee of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala in Kandy walking in great pride as he walks ahead of the Tusker Rama belonging to the late Mr. Tudor Gunasekara of Heyantoduwa, who shall be carrying the godly ornaments of Lord Vishnu this evening. And Rama is accompanied by the elephant Vasana belonging to Mrs. Krishanti Alapatha of Ratnapura, and the elephant Chuti Manike belonging to Mr. Bharata Amaratunga of Meegoda. Let us take this moment to feel the devotion towards Lord Vishnu. While that marks the end of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala Perahera, let us take you through the procession of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala in Kandy. Leading the procession of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala in Kandy are the flag bearers represented by the Civil Defence Authority. And here we see the first elephant of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya, who is Suranimala, belonging to the Alutnuwara Dadimunda Devalaya. And on the mount of Suranimala, we see an official carrying the flag of God Kataragama.
The Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya in Kandy is one of the key places of worship that is dedicated to Lord Kataragama in the city of Kandy. And the speciality of Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya being is the only of the Satara Devalaya which is out of Sri Dalada Maligawa premises. And it is located in the Kotugadal Vidya, which was once known as the Kavikara Vidya, where the poets of the king had used to reside during the times of royalty.
And now we see the official Hewisi troupe of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala in Kandy, who are being led by Mr. P.V. James, representing the official Hewisi troupe of the Badulla Kataragama Devalaya. and the Lalita Aesthetic Academy.
And Nilesh, the opening representation of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala showed us some unique flag bearers who showcased a different variety of flags. The flags that led the way, an illustration of King Ravana, who is an ancient king of Sri Lanka, who connects the Indian epic of Ramayana to Sri Lanka. The reason why we see the flag of Ravana being held ahead in the procession is to communicate a belief that King Ravana is a follower of Lord Kataragama.
When speaking about Hewisi, Kanishka, did you know, as I mentioned previously, Hewisi is not just the official sound offering for Lord Buddha, but is actually the same official and the most venerated sound offering that is performed towards gods, known as the Shabda Puja. And in fact, all of the Devala processions have differences in their Hewisi troops from their sounds, if you would have noticed carefully.
Indeed, Nilesh.
And now we see the second elephant of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala procession this evening, who is Podiraju, belonging to Mr. Chamila Bandaranayaka of Gannoruwa. It's interesting to see how the color red is being associated with the elephants and most of the other elements of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera as the main theme, because it is the belief that Lord Kataragama is the god of war, and the color red is associated with that belief, therefore. And now we see the fourth Sawaran dance performance that we would be seeing in the Perahera, and this troupe of Sawaran dancers are being represented by Mr. Suraj Madhushan of the Divyanjali Aesthetic Academy. And I believe we stopped our conversation at one point where we were discussing about what this Sawaran is actually made of. And when speaking about it, this Sawaran is made using the tail hair of the Semara deer who lives in the tip of the Himalayan mountains, which is used as the fanning tool of royalty since the very ancient times. It is believed that there is no cooling breeze other than the fanned air by the Semara tail, and this is why the fanning using these tussles are sometimes known as Semara Salina. Here we see another representation of the elephant troupe of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala, who is Rani belonging to Mr. Nalaka Jayasinghe of Godagama. Following Rani, we are seeing a troupe of Talam dancers who are represented this evening once again by Mr. Kondadeniye Samansiri of the Vasala Rajasiritha Aesthetic Academy. And Kanishka, I believe you would recall that we were speaking about this veteran artist Kondadeniye Samansiri, who also represents a key lineage of Kandian dancers in Sri Lanka.
Of course, Nilesh.
Just like the other gods, Lord Kataragama too has a weapon that is unique to himself, that is known as the Velayuda, along with other symbols such as the peacock and the color red. According to a famous literate named Richard Gombrich, Skanda has been an important deity in the Theravada Buddhist pantheon in countries such as Sri Lanka and Thailand. The Nikaya Samahara describes Kandakumara as the guardian deity of the land along with Upulwan, Vishnu, Saman and Vibhishana. Similarly, the 16th century Siamese text Jinkana Mali mentions him as the guardian and patron god of both Buddhism and Sri Lanka. Here we see another elephant of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera, who is Sudumanike, belonging to Mr. Buddhika Miriyalla of Ganethanna.
It is believed that Lord Kataragama is the younger son of Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati, and he is considered as an important deity in the Indian subcontinent since ancient times, worshipped as Mahasena and Kumara in North India, and is also predominantly worshipped in the state of Tamil Nadu and other parts of South India, Sri Lanka, Singapore and Malaysia.
And now we see a troupe of Pantheru dancers who are being trained by Mr. Lakmal Veerasinghe of the Helakala Aesthetic Academy.
Nilesh, would you like to talk about the legend of Lord Kataragama and his arrival to Sri Lanka?
The legend of Lord Kataragama narrates his arrival in Sri Lanka as a very interesting story of romance. According to the story, Lord Kataragama had witnessed a tribal young girl named Valli from the southeastern wilds of Sri Lanka. Whom he fell in love with. In order to win Valli as his consort, he has reached Sri Lanka via the shores of Devundara in Mathura and reached the city of Kataragama in search for Valli. Following the Pantheru dance act, we are seeing two special elephants of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera. On one side, we see the elephant, and in fact both of these elephants have been taking part in the Kandy Esala Perahera from a very far distance, all the way from Hambantota. On one side, we see the elephant Hiruni, and the other side, the elephant Hesara, belonging to Mr. Ajit Galagi of Hambantota. And in fact, this is Hiruni's first time in the Kandy Esala Perahera, which we must make note of. And now we see the arrival of the most awaited moment of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera, which is the arrival of the ceremonial elephant who shall be carrying the godly ornaments of Lord Kataragama. And this trio of elephants are being escorted by the Naiyandi dancers representing the troupe of Mr. Gaishan Malagamana of the Malagamana Aesthetic Academy.
And Nilesh, if you look closely on the elephant clothes that were representing the Kataragama Devala Perahera, most of the dresses had the image of peacock. So it is. Can you just explain why it is and how elaborating it is connected to Lord Kataragama?
Well, in fact, the peacock is believed to be the mount of Lord Kataragama according to his ideology, which has a deep story if one would be interested to find out. And because of the same reason, the element peacock is highly affiliated with the cult of Lord Kataragama, which is the same reason why we would be seeing the peacock in several elements including in this Perahera. And to give you a hint about what's going to happen next in the other coming days, the Randoli Perahera will also be featuring the peacock dance that can only be seen in the processions dedicated towards Lord Kataragama. And now we will be seeing a special person of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera, who is the Iyer.
Just Nilesh, unlike the other four Devala shrines, the chief priest or the Iyer of Sri Maha Kataragama Devala in Kandy is not a single his origin, but he is in fact an Indian national who is a traditional Brahmanic lineage and is delegated to perform this venerative task since many generations, where it was his father who performed this duty before him. The ayah is dressed in traditional white attire during the Kumbal Perahera ceremonies, and these dresses would change in the commencement of the upcoming Randoli Perahera as well.
This evening's fourth Kumbal Perahera, the requelaries of Lord Kataragama will be carried by the elephant Aruna, belonging to Venerable Higgoda Chandimathero, the chief incumbent of the Handala Rajamaha Vihare in Wattala. And this evening, Aruna is accompanied by the elephant Esala, belonging to Venerable Katugasthora Saradathero, the chief incumbent of the Pirisiyala Senanayaka Mudalindarama temple, and the elephant Bibila, belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Giriyulla. And let us take this moment to feel and respect towards Lord Kataragama. While that marks the end of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera, let us take you to the final segment of this evening's Perahera, which is the procession of the Sri Maha Pattini Devala in Kandy.
The Sri Maha Pattini Devala in Kandy is the only shrine of the Kandy and Satara Devalaya that is dedicated to the virtuous goddess Pattini, who is also the only female representation among the guardian deities of the sacred tooth relic. This Devalaya is located in the premises of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, which can be easily reached via the Deva Vidya and is separated from the Sri Natha Devala from the ancient Atvidya, which is used to be the resting ground for the royal elephants.
We saw the Pattini Devala procession being led by the Buddhist flag bearers representing the Civil Defence Authority, and right now we are seeing the arrival of the official Hewisi troop of the Sri Maha Pattini Devala in Kandy, who are being trained by Mr. M.G. Palita Nishanka, Mr. M.G. Sirisena and Mr. M.G. Premadasa. We are seeing the aerial image of the great citadel of Kandy, which is illuminated in bright lights to welcome the great Esala Perahera festival, which is not just worshipped by locals but is visited by all individuals who are interested in Sri Lankan culture from all countries around the world.
Another interesting factor about Lord Pattini is it is believed that this Devalaya is at least 4 centuries old, as there were written evidence of a Perahera that had been held during the reign of King Rajasingha II. According to folklore, the statue of goddess Pattini at this Devalaya was brought from Maligawa Pattini Devalaya during the time of King Vimaladharma Surya I. Even today, the statues at Maligawa Devalaya and the Kandy Devalaya look similar, and this is evident that suggests that the Sri Maha Pattini Devala in Kandy goes back to the 16th century in history.
Here Hewisi, the first elephant of the Sri Pattini Devala, who is Isuru, belonging to Venerable Urlayavatte Sri Dhammarakkhita Thero, the chief incumbent of the Mahiyangana Rajamahaviharaya. Did you know, Kanishka, that the temple which Isuru represents is quite special in Buddhism in Sri Lanka, because it is in fact the first place in Sri Lanka that Lord Buddha had visited for the first time. And following Isuru, we are seeing the Kulu Natuma, or the Willowing Fan dance, that is represented by the Hewisi, the Hewisi Aesthetic Academy of Galimbiduruaval. The willowing fan is in fact a kitchen tool that is used in the traditional village lifestyles of Sri Lanka, where the willowing fan or the cooler is used for kitchen activities and is primarily associated with the lifestyle of women. And the beauty of such folk dancing is that the choreography is not just to illuminate a dance item, but also at the same time to represent how women are associated in their daily lifestyles.
The male-dominated presence of artists that we saw previously is no longer visible, as we see the entrance of the female representation of the Perahera, which is indeed the speciality of the Sri Pattini Devala Perahera. Being the only goddess that is venerated in this religion pageant, this segment of Perahera not just celebrates the virtues of goddess Pattini, but it also celebrates the greatness of women and their value to the existence of this world.
Pattini Devala Perahera is quite a special segment of the Kandy Esala Perahera, because it is the only segment in the Perahera that provides the opportunity for female representation, where we will be seeing a majority of female dance items, particularly because goddess Pattini is only the female deity who shall be associated with in the Kandy Esala Perahera. And now we are seeing a Pantheru dance performance that is represented by the Sri Lanka Nutya Jalakala Aesthetic Academy of Gampala. Speaking of the Pantheru, this particular instrument has great affiliation to the cult of goddess Pattini, where the origin of this particular instrument, known as the Pantheru, is often believed to be hailing from the anklet of goddess Pattini, which is also known as the Pattini Salama. It is quite interesting to see how this particular dance act plays a symbolic role in the procession that is dedicated towards goddess Pattini.
Indeed, Nilesh. Nilesh, can you talk us through the next elephant that is coming on this great procession?
Definitely. Among the many different and beautiful female dance performances that we will be seeing in the procession of goddess Pattini, the next elephant who we are just about to see is also quite a special female elephant who has a great history in connection to the Sri Pattini Devala in Kandy. This particular elephant is Sita, belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakkodi of Maharagama, and one of the very few female elephants who had ever got the chance to become a ceremonial elephant in the Pattini Devala Perahera, where in fact Sita was the key elephant of the 2015 Kandy Esala Perahera, who carried the requilleries of goddess Pattini across all 11 days of the procession. Following Sita, we are seeing another Pa Impath dance troupe that is represented this evening by the Deepthi Aesthetic Academy of Pujapitiya.
According to the legends of Pattini, the cult of goddess Pattini narrates many amusing stories which are all part of the legend of this greatest goddess. One of the most interesting out of such legends is her birth story, which is popular as Satpatini, which it reveals 7 different ways in which she had been born, which includes the stories of goddess Pattini being born out of a mango, dewdrop, cobra tear, Demeter flower, shawl, fire, lightning. The cult of Satpatini is also challenged with a different variant which illustrates 12 birds known as the Dolos Pattini Upata. Nilesh, would you also like to talk to us about why goddess Pattini is popular within females and children as well?
As stated before, goddess Pattini is much popular among Sri Lankans due to her power in curing diseases among women and small children. This is the same reason why many of the Sri Lankan low country healing rituals, including the Gam Maduwa, Devol Maduwa and Pahan Maduwa, have accepted its protagonist deity as goddess Pattini. The popularity of these ceremonies can only be agreed by an eyewitness, where thousands of devotees spend an entire sleepless night in the ritual grounds to experience and worship this miraculous power of healing. And now we see a troupe of Sawaran dancers, of female participants actually, represented by the Lanka Aesthetic Academy of Dalada. And Kanishka, it must be mentioned that this year's Sri Pattini Devala Perahera had done something really great to the society by opening up its Kumbal Perahera festivities as a stage for all new dance academies and new dance artists to represent themselves in the procession of goddess Pattini, where in other parts of the Perahera we have been noticing the traditional lineages. The Sri Pattini Devala Perahera had in fact taken an extra step to let the Kumbal Perahera be a stage for all these new participants who we have not seen in the Perahera for the previous years. And this empowerment is truly going to be the spirit of protecting all of these valuable cultures for our next years.
Indeed, Nilesh, with the world changing and revolutionizing, the ancient cultures, traditions and the practices need to be remembered and have to be carried out for the next generation.
Here we see one of the most beautiful elephants who will be walking in the Pattini Devala Perahera, the elephant Manike belonging to Mrs. Shriyani Gunawardana of Mobitel. Following Manike, we are seeing the final episode of this evening's Perahera, where the godly ornaments of goddess Pattini shall be carried in great majesty among these ceremonial elephants, escorted by the troupe of Naiyandi dancers representing the Mithun Bandara Aesthetic Academy of Vatapuduwa. And in fact, Kanishka, we were speaking about several lineages who have been playing parts in the Kandy Esala Perahera. And this particular dance artist, Mithun Bandara, is actually the grandson of the veteran artist Ranjit Bandara, who used to perform in this exact same place in the Kandy Esala Perahera for many years. And this itself is evident how cultures keep on moving across generations, not making it a step for this to end. As we all know, the Perahera is a tradition that must be continued till the eternal existence of the sun and the moon, where nothing so far has been able to stop the Perahera, if you remember. Even with the COVID-19 crisis, the whole world was in a pause, but it wasn't a pause for the Kandy Esala Perahera, as it was held in the exact same condition which you are seeing right now for 2 years without public expectation.
Certainly, Nilesh, certainly. This is the devotion that needs, and this is truly a good sign for the future of Perahera as well as for our traditional heritage. And another interesting fact is that goddess Pattini is also known as Kannagi Amman in Tamil folklore, where we find many kovils in Sri Lanka that are built by Sri Lankan Hindus to pay respect to the faith of goddess Pattini as Kannagi Amman.
Seeing the approach of the priest of the Sri Pattini Devala in Kandy, who shall be followed by the ceremonial elephant of the Sri Pattini Devala. And just as always, it is the great elephant Mangala belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Kiriyulla, who shall be carrying the relics of goddess Pattini this evening. And Mangala will be accompanied by the elephant Manike belonging to Mr. Danuka Kempitiya of Kegol, and the elephant Parami belonging to Mr. Samantha Vijayamana of Medagoda. Let us take this moment to feel the devotion towards goddess Pattini. And that marks the end of the 4th Kumbal Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2024. We hope our country will be blessed with fertility and rains.
May our country prosper. Dalada Samidu Pitai.